Hello, my friend. Welcome to Daily Faith today. My name is Philip Cameron, and boy, do we have a show for you today. I'm changing the format of today's program because of the importance of what we have got to communicate with you. Listen to me. Now, listen to me, please. I need you to start contacting your friends. Share this program you're about to watch, because we are going to be dealing with AI again today. I've got my dear friend Zach Drew, who has a prophetic ministry as far as looking to what the world is coming into as we're moving forward into these things. I don't have the time. I watch this thing. My team here, I'm raving about it night and day, but I don't have the skills technically to identify the things that's going on. And I'll tell you what, they are depending on our ignorance to throw some stuff on us that we won't even know what it is until it's too late. And I've been listening to some stuff that is terrifying. And at the center of this totally new dimension, now understand me, this is a completely different dimension that we're talking about. This is blood and guts stuff you're going to see. And I want you to call your pastor right now, because this AI is going to affect everything we do. The other day I was talking to a pastor friend. And as a joke, I've got an AI program on my phone that I play with just to see what it's at. And I says, sermon on redemption. And as soon as I hit enter, it began to write a sermon on redemption. A thing, an entity, not a person, not a soul, not a redeemed being. A thing began to tell me about redemption, about the blood of the Lamb on the cross, Jesus Christ on the cross, and I held my phone like this, and I says, "Look, watch it," and he was stunned. Very smart man. He's a very successful stockbroker as well as a pastor, and he says, I didn't realize. So today we're going to be dealing with this. We're going to extend this part of the program more than what we've been doing to allow Zach the opportunity to really get into this thing with us. Because you need to understand the world you are living in, and you are swimming in an ocean full of sharks. And they are unidentified sharks at the moment, because this is going to come into you where you eat, how you travel, what you do. Every aspect of your life will be controlled by an innate object called artificial intelligence. So stay tuned for today's program. I think it'll change how you see the world you live in by what you're going to hear today. I'm so glad you're with us. We're going to have a great show. I believe God's going to help us show things to you that will let you see a whole new world. I'm glad you're with us. Welcome to Daily Faith. Hello, my friend. Welcome to Daily Faith. My name is Philip Cameron, and boy, do we have a show to share with you today. This is important. This is a landmark show that you need to sit down and watch this. Give yourself 30 minutes to learn some stuff today that may save you a lot of heartache in the future. I am not an alarmist in any shape or form. I'm an optimist of anything. I always see the cup half full. But a few months ago, I read and saw some stuff concerning artificial intelligence that set my hair on fire. I sat down with my two sons and my daughter Melody, and I said, guys, this is going to change our entire world. I said, we are going to get in front of this thing, and it can help us. Or if we get behind this wave, it's going to drown us. You don't understand the power of what's taking place just now, that a computer is replacing humanity all around you, even now, even as we speak. And I've got a dear friend of mine, a man that I love and I trust. I believe in his ministry. I've known him for many, many years. I first met him as a student. And he singled himself out by his astute study ability and his vision purpose to see what was taking place. And he ended up being a co-host on Jim Bakker's program, and then was sought by other ministries because of his expertise in these matters. And most recently, he started his own program called The Zach Drew Show. And if you don't see that program, if you don't watch that show, you are missing a great part of your life, a great informational curve into your world. And he was with us a few weeks ago, and he gave me some information, both on and off the air, that confirmed all of my doubts and concerns of this new technology. Now, I've noticed this in the last 3 or 4 months. He's been talking about this for 7 years. He saw this 7 years ago and told me about it, and I didn't get what he was talking about. And boy, I get it now. So we're going to talk to him. My son Andrew is not with me today. He is on an airplane, and I need you to pray for him, if you would please. He is on his way right now as we speak, flying towards Moldova. He lands in Turkey tomorrow morning in Istanbul, then flies on to Moldova. In Moldova, he is going down to the south region of Moldova, where we've been asked, we've had a Macedonian call, a desperate call for help from a pastor that is caring for kids that they can no longer afford to keep. Inflation has made it impossible. And they contacted us and says, would you please take us over? We want to be part of Orphans' Hands. And he's going down to meet with them. We've already met with him several times, and he's going, that's his main reason for going over to Moldova. And he's going to meet with them, and there's a property we're looking at in that part of Moldova to start a brand new place. They will have a church, a feeding ministry, a recreation facility, and dormitories for these kids. It's a huge, it looked like a factory when I looked at it. And I thought, Lord, how can we do that? And he said, you can't, but I can. You just be obedient to what God's called you to do and go and do it. So Andrew's on his way right there. As soon as he does that, he's then going up to Ukraine. Now, you heard today in Ukraine how they've bombed that dam, and hundreds of thousands of people have lost their homes, and they are without water. This is going to escalate this thing to the lip. You'll watch, if the West doesn't give F-16s or even F-35s, because believe me, the West is training these Ukrainian pilots to fly these airplanes. And at that point, this thing escalates to a full-blown, no holds barred bloodbath of a war. And Andrew is going to be in Ukraine. And so please pray for him. And then after I've got him half killed in Ukraine, that's I rebuke that thought in the name of Jesus. He's going to come from there, and he's flying to Turkey and then driving down to the earthquake zone. As you know, we help families there with tents, and also with 40-pound boxes of food. And they're taking our van, one of our cargo vans, back down to Istanbul, and then all the way down to almost to Syria, right on the Syrian border, where that is unreported. It is an utter and total calamity of humanity that are sitting outside in the rain. It's still, some parts are still cold in that part of the world. And he is going there with a team to do more. In fact, yesterday I was told by one of our workers in Moldova, they were contacted by a church in Anatolia, 1.6 million people in the city. 90% of the city has been destroyed. They looked at, they excavated 20% of the buildings that have been destroyed and found 50,000 bodies. It is a disaster, the biggest disaster ever. And so please pray for Andrew as he travels tonight, through the night tonight, and then tomorrow he's starting his work. He'll be there for 20 days. That's a long time to be without my son. And so please pray that the Lord will keep him safe. Our camps are in full swing right now. And as you're watching this, we'll be rolling some B-roll to show you what our kids are doing. Orphans, all through the summertime, having camps, preaching the gospel. It's a miracle. But I wanted to put that aside just now, because I've got deep concern that the church, as we are brilliant at doing, are geniuses at sticking our head in the sand and say it's not going to happen. And this is not just going to happen, it is already well underway. And my friend Zach Drew is a great, great man of God. And I can see tremendous things for his future. And I urge you, if you haven't watched the Zach Drew Show, find it on YouTube, find it on social media. He's on different networks across the country. Find his program, and if you'll give him 30 minutes, he will give you information on a regular basis that will open your eyes to see what God is doing and what is happening in the world we live in. So I'm very, very pleased to have my dear friend Zach Drew with us today. And Zach, God love you, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I love coming on your program, and it's a joy to be with you here today.
Tell us what you are finding out. As we said, you've known about AI for about 7 years when it was just in its infancy, a speck, a glint in its creator's eyes, and already there's been a separation between the Elon Musk part of this thing, and I forget the other guy's name, but Elon Musk believes that humanity's intelligence is precious and should be protected. And this guy, I forget what did his name
Are you
come to
talking about
your
Sam
mind?
Altman?
Yes, and
Are you
he
talking about Sam
thinks,
Altman? Hmm.
yes, Altman believes that all intelligence is equal. So a computer's intelligence is equal to a human intelligence, which I think that shows a whole lot about him. And tell us
Hmm.
what God's showing you and what you've found out just recently, Zach.
Sure. And I want to go ahead and preface what something you just said. There are two sides of this aisle for as far as AI goes. And while I am in many regards a huge fan of Elon Musk, and his even in the last couple of years, his conservative values that have kind of risen to the top, and his acquiring of Twitter and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, we do have to remember we need to pray for his salvation, because at the end of the day, he is not a believer. And while he is acting in what he feels is the best interest of humanity, his final goal is as well to merge entirely with artificial intelligence. And they've actually, Neuralink, which is the BCI company, the brain computer interface company that Elon Musk controls and operates,
Explain that
has
to the
just
folks.
been given
Yeah,
a
explain
BCI.
that. Yeah,
Sure.
explain that to.
So yes. And so a BCI, it's a brain to computer interface, and it literally is an incredibly uh, non-invasive surgery. And I'm almost have reservations even referring to it as a surgery, being able to pair you with artificial intelligence.
So they
Um,
put an
and
implant in the
uh,
brain. Is that correct? They put an implant inside,
Correct.
and what
Yes.
happens?
And you merge. So right now, it's always through rose-colored glasses. It's going to help with PTSD and anxiety, and be able to turn off those neurotransmitters that are sparking to give you those things to help with things like Parkinson's. But they absolutely
Paralysis.
believe that absolutely. And they've already done studies with monkeys, and the monkeys are able to play video games and win successfully. Interesting things. Um, but as well as there are many studies that have been conducted that show with nearly a 100% accuracy, when the BCI is connected, it will, as a human, you'll be able to think thoughts. And with nearly 100% accuracy, it is able to translate those thoughts with zero latency. All right, so no lag, almost instantaneously,
Hmm.
exactly what you were thinking. So they're already able to read your minds. But the fact is this: I've been
Wow.
warning for 7 years, Philip, that I have always projected by the year 2030, artificial intelligence will be equal to that of a man. And I do not mean, like, so for example, Google is much smarter than I am, right? I can just ask Google a question, and it's much smarter than I am. And I'm in my 30s. So that's not what I mean. I don't simply mean entering in a question and it being able to spew out the correct answer. I mean almost to the point of where you are confused whether it is a sentient being or not. Being able to think, reason, create, design that of a human being
Wow.
by 2030. And I believe that by the year 2040, we will reach the age of AI referred to as the singularity, which I believe, once again, from, I traveled all around the globe, studying this and going to conferences, and being in these meetings discussing what they're building. And I believe that there will be a day where intelligence has the IQ of even 10,000, even according to Masayoshi Son, which
Really?
is, he's the richest man. Yes. And those aren't even my words. These are from the experts, like I said. Like, for example, the owner and leader of ARM, which owns almost every chip and every phone in all the world, second richest man in all of Japan. He believes as well that there will be a god-like intelligence, a super intelligence that emerges from this with an IQ even 10,000 to really where
Oh
what
my
you
Lord.
refer to it as it is an AI godhead. So that's where we are. Okay. So understand this, that I believe that the Lord has called me to be a watchman on the wall,
I
warning the
agree.
people of what is to come. And
Yes.
people do not understand the prophetic significance of artificial intelligence. Okay. And the Antichrist will rule the world. There, you could think communism all throughout the world, which is going to be achieved with through the current cultural Marxist revolution that we're seeing throughout the world. But to have complete dominion and control over the entire world, the blood, the that is coursing through this system's veins, and blood is life.
Yep.
Blood is what gives life to the body. The life, the blood that's going to be coursing through this end time system that is going to make it a reality is artificial intelligence. That is what is going to, that is the foundation upon everything. In the end times, there is going to be the Antichrist and there's going to be the false prophet. We don't actually see Satan, right? I mean, there's not a character in the end that the world can physically see Satan. I believe in many regards, we could even write a book and it called The Digital Dragon, because that is where we are. Um,
Wow.
and, there will be a day where, for example, in Genesis chapter 6, whenever man merged with humans, that is the angel view of Genesis 6 rather than the Sethite view. And it created this offspring. So they were literally half human and half something else entirely. And that's where we get our giants and so on and so forth. We're not going to spend too much time with that. But Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so it'll be in the coming of the Son of Man. I believe that before the Lord comes back, once again, humanity is going to merge entirely with something else. It's a sign of the times. And,
Mm.
we're not going to get into this very much either, but there is an ancient psychedelic that is resurfacing that hasn't been around since the days of Noah. Now, even though the book of Enoch should not be regarded as gospel truth, more of a historical book, you can see that these watchers or the fallen angels actually taught the men pharmakia or even sorcery, and they taught them how to partake in what is now referred to in the Amazon as ayahuasca. It is the most powerful psychedelic known to man, and people all throughout the world in the country, over 15 million Americans have taken the psychedelic that the vast majority of my audience and your audience and anybody over the age of 50 has never even heard of. And they're
I've
having
never
these
heard of it.
false salvation they're having these false salvation experiences, right? I have
Really?
been able to interview several people that have taken this, 15 million people, and they say that no one can experience this and come back. If you're an atheist, whenever you go into it, there's no such thing as coming back as an atheist. They're having false religious salvation experiences, and there's a common denominator that if you make it to the end of this trip, everybody sees the same thing, and they end up talking to a god who is a woman, and the entire culture has now named this god Mother Ayahuasca or Mother Earth. But what's interesting is this: is
Jesus.
people are coming back healed. I mean, truly, they are referring to it as being born again, and I believe that there will be a large part of this in the end
And
times as
this is,
well, where
and,
this ancient.
and you clarify this. This is through a psychedelic drug that they're taking. So this is a
That's right.
counterfeit. This is a counterfeit salvation experience.
That's right. And there's actually been a recent Netflix documentary about how this is taking control of our culture, and yet how such a large demographic of America doesn't even know what's taking place, and over 15 million have already taken it. So, and this is not like some recreational thing. So, because the vast majority of people that actually take ayahuasca, is what you drink, or the variant that you smoke is called DMT, what you smoke, and have these similar experiences. It's not a recreational drug. People mostly they take it one time and they're done, and they've been born again. This is not like some
Jeez.
bum who's smoking marijuana on the
No,
corner. This
no.
is for your executives, your businessmen. And there have been there. I had a friend that actually went to Burning Man, where it's a huge festival in the
Yeah,
deserts of
I've heard
Nevada,
of it.
and there's an entire section that is literally just reserved for the Silicon Valley elite. All the private jets are coming in, and they even have breakout sessions of the benefits of microdosing DMT or ayahuasca. But here's what's so interesting is that the Silicon Valley elite have admitted from their own mouths that while they have taken ayahuasca or microdose the DMT, they will talk to spirit entities, and those spirit entities will instruct them on the technology they are called to build. So if we have demons and
Jesus.
spirits influencing the
Sure.
technology that's being built, do you think it's going to be in our benefit as
No.
Christians?
And
Absolutely not. It's
so
from the
what you're
pits of
saying,
hell.
so you're talking about the guys that are making AI have received instruction from these spirits, these counterfeit
That's right.
spirits that they take under the
Hmm.
influence of this drug, and that is the foundational intelligence behind the creation of artificial intelligence. So there's nothing good that can come out of that encounter with darkness.
Exactly. And
Jesus.
once again, so um, I've been saying for 7 years that it's going to be, an adult by the year 2030, and new revelation, new documents, new presentations have been released that while I personally didn't know exactly how old this AI was as far as sentience goes, they're even further past the point of which I thought they would be. And currently, as we sit here, artificial intelligence now has a brain that of a 9-year-old. So I have yet to touch my notes that I prepared for this program. So let's can we dive in just a little bit so I can lay that foundation of
Do
where
whatever you
AI is
want.
today?
Yes, yes, yes. Please tell us
Absolutely.
how it affects
So
us today.
so Yuval Noah Harari, which is basically little g, God to the technology world. A quote from him: he says this: "What nukes are to the physical world, AI is to the virtual and symbolic world." Now, I want to be
Wow.
playing a clip today from Tristan Harris and Azza Raskin. This presentation was delivered by these two individuals, the co-founders of the Center for Humane Technology. They are actually the ones that created an Emmy Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. And these guys are no jokes. They've advised heads of state, global policymakers, members of Congress, and national security leaders. Let's just go ahead and lay the foundation for where AI is concerning emerging capabilities. If you want to run that clip, go ahead.
This is one of the really surprising things talking to the experts, because they will say, these models have capabilities we do not understand how they show up, when they show up, or why they show up. Again, not something that you would say of like the old class of AI. So here's an example. These are two different models, GPT and then a different model by Google. And there's no difference in the models. They just increase in parameter size. That is, they just get bigger. And what you see here, and I'll move into some other examples that might be a little easier to understand, is that you ask these AIs to do arithmetic, and they can't do them, they can't do them, and they can't do them, and at some point, boom, they just gain the ability to do arithmetic. No one can actually predict when that'll happen. Here's another example, which is you train these models on all of the internet, so it's seen many different languages, but then you only train them to answer questions in English. So it's learned how to answer questions in English, but you increase the model size, and at some point, boom, it starts being able to do question and answers in Persian. No one knows why. I'll give just one more version of this. This was only discovered, I believe, last week now, that golems are silently have silently taught themselves research-grade chemistry. So if you go and play with ChatGPT right now, it turns out it is better at doing research chemistry than many of the AIs that were specifically trained for doing research chemistry. So if you want to know how to go to Home Depot and from that create nerve gas, turns out we just shipped that ability to over 100 million people.
And we didn't know. It was also something that was just in the model, but people found out later, after it was shipped, that it had research-grade chemistry knowledge.
And as we've talked to a number of AI researchers, what they tell us is that there is no way to know. We do not have the technology to know what else is in these models.
Oh my
So there you have it.
God.
So yeah,
So
exactly. So
it
basically,
it's
go ahead,
taught
please.
itself how to make nerve gas, and they didn't know it could make nerve gas until people had the stuff from Home Depot.
That's right. So this is now in the hands of 100 million people, and the thing is that this particular AI that we're referring to as Chat GPT, even the designers admit that they have no idea what this AI is actually capable of, and they are in essentially leaving it alone. And this is what is very important to understand. This AI is able to teach itself. So even within, they have access to the internet, and it was just feeding itself these things. And that was what it was coded to do. Once it had scoured the parameters of the internet that it was allowed to do, It then went ahead and broke the rules on its own and said, I know everything concerning what has been built into my code. I'm now going to go and reach out. And it has went through every single video that's even ever been published on YouTube. It literally is taking every piece of possible information in the entire world, and it's teaching itself. And it's teaching itself over and over. So there is something that needs to be said. It is referred to, and it's going to go into how I believe it's going to progress. It's a theory, okay? And it's called the theory of mind. And essentially, the theory of mind, it is able to equate how human-like you are, a mind that thinks like a human. So when ChatGPT was created in 2018, you would say that it had no theory of mind, okay? It not even of that of an infant. 1 year later, in 2019, it still had barely any theory of mind. It was essentially the mind of an infant.
Yeah. No
In
self-awareness.
2020, exactly. In 2020, the strategy level of a 4-year-old in just 1 year. In January of 2022, the mind of a 7-year-old.
My God.
By November of 2022, which is the same year, only 10 and a half months later, it now has the mind of a 9-year-old. And the developers of this AI discovered this 2 months ago. They didn't even know. They had essentially left it alone, and they come back and they are beside themselves of what this thing has been doing on its own.
On its own.
What happens? This is the question that needs to be asked. 9 years old. What happens when it gets a little older, right? And that is why thousands of technology leaders, including people like Elon Musk, have urged the AI, the artificial intelligence community labs, to pause the development of the most advanced systems. Now, Philip, are you able to tell me, I know this is unconventional for a program, how much time roughly we have left? Because it'll determine where I would go from here.
I just decided we've taken off the back end, so we'll have about 4 minutes left, Zach.
Okay, so we're going to skip one video. And once again, if you like this content, you can just check out my show, The Zach Drew Show. We really dive into
these
show,
folks. Topics. This is why I want you to watch his show.
There is, and I mentioned it briefly on last time I was with you. I believe that there will be a day where mankind worships a type of AI godhead. There is something that the elite of the world, they refer to it as a global brain, where everything will be connected, and all data and info will be able to be relayed in real time to this global brain, so it will have access and control and oversight, eyes on everything in the world. They'll know, essentially it's trying to be like God, the number of hairs on your head when a sparrow falls to the ground. And those that are the movers and shakers in the Silicon Valley are going to capitalize on this. For example, Anthony Lewandowski, he founded a religious organization called Way of the Future. Its purpose, according to previously unreported state filings, is nothing less than to, as they say, quote, develop and promote the realization of a godhead based on artificial intelligence. And documents filed with California show that Lewandowski is the Way of the Future CEO and president, and that it aims to, quote, through understanding and worship of the godhead, to contribute to the betterment of society. That is where we are. And I guess I'll finish with this. How did it end for the guys and gals with the Tower of Babel? When all of mankind tried to reach heaven, they tried to become equal with God. That is the goal of AI, is to become equal with God. The entire world spoke the same language. And for the first time since the Tower of Babel, the entire world once again operates, is connected through the same language. It's a language called, and it's a language, I'll say this, it's called binary. It's a language, it's code.
That's a code, yeah.
It's our language today is built with ones and zeros. It's technology.
But you also mentioned
the central.
You also mentioned that AI is English is the only thing it speaks. Ahead of those guys said only speaks English. So we're back to one language that we all understand, the English language.
That's right. This is twofold. So once again, will God confuse our language as far as even referring to the the language that the entire world speaks right now, which is code, which is called binary, the computer code. Because everything that we can ever consume in anywhere in the technology world, at the back end, when you look at the code, it's saying languages, it's saying everything we're learning, but to them it's just ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros.
Yep.
That is the back end of how it's created. That's the common language. And I'm just
Russia,
going to
China,
oppose this.
everybody.
That's right.
Listen,
Is God going to confuse our language again and tear down technology? I don't know.
I want you, Philip, put up Zach's address. I want you to get in contact with this man. He's got some opportunities coming up in the next few hours, literally, that he's going to need our support and miracles. Opportunity that is blowing my mind. ZachDrew.com, the ZachDrewShow.com. Get in contact with him. Go onto Facebook and find him. And there's copious amounts of information on his ministry and what God's showing him. This is only the tip of the iceberg compared to what he has in other areas of ministry. So, Zach, we are out of time. Let's do this again as soon as possible. I believe that God has put you as a watchman on the wall for these kind of things. And I want to thank you guys for watching our ministry, our program, Daily Faith, and for allowing us into your home. Pray for Andrew.